Americans is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so.
Now, here's your host, Brian Fisher.
Hi, and welcome back to this second hour of Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. Going to be talking with Todd Starnes at 2:15 about some stuff that you will find hard to believe that's being taught in a middle school in New England. Now, I understand as a result of Todd's expose that they've actually made changes in the curriculum already, which is again a sign that our voice can be heard. And we look right now at the way the Pentagon, Fort Campbell, apparently this Lieutenant Colonel Jack Rich is decorated Bronze Star from his service in Iraq. So he's a decorated soldier. And that's what makes it even more frightening is here's somebody that's a decorated soldier. He's in command. He's a lieutenant colonel, and he obviously feels he can send out this email that demonizes a pro-family group with no repercussions. But there's enough backlash now, enough blowback that they're scrambling to come up with some kind of a statement. They're being overwhelmed, inundated with phone calls, and all of which is to say, hey, we can make a difference. Our voice, if we speak up, we can, in fact, make a difference. Now, in preparation for the conversation with Todd on the Second Amendment, Rob, let's grab clip number 7. This is Sarah Merkel, features Sarah Merkel. She was on Sean Hannity's program, and she had given testimony in Maryland against a gun control bill there. That video kind of went viral, and it came to Sean Hannity's attention, so he had her on last night to talk with him about this whole push to overturn the Second Amendment and impose gun control, and here's how the conversation went.
Ever since I first learned how to shoot, the issue with gun violence around the nation became clear. Guns are not the problem, people are. Purging our society of violence and murder cannot be done through gun control legislation. By signing this legislation, you are not signing away gun violence, but instead liberating American citizens of our constitutional rights. You are not eliminating guns from society, but eliminating our ability to protect our lives, liberty, and pursuits of happiness. Chicago, Illinois has had some of the strictest gun control laws in America enacted for the past few years, and it is currently more than twice as likely for you to be killed in Chicago as in the Afghani war. Is that really something we want to model our state laws after?
So that's a 15-year-old giving testimony before the Maryland legislature, a committee hearing there, and sticking up for the Second Amendment. And this ought to be tremendously encouraging. She's 15, and she gets it. This is the generation that everybody says, oh, they're gone. You've lost them. You've lost them on abortion. You've lost them on marriage. You've lost them on smaller government. They're gone. Never get them back. Got to accept it. She's 15, and she knows more about the Constitution and the Second Amendment than the President of the United States. Now, here's what President Obama said the day before yesterday on Monday. We didn't have time to get to this soundbite yesterday. I referred to it. We didn't play it. Kept it over from Monday. Where President, and this to me, you know, I don't know how you react to this, but it just sounds cold to me. It just sounds passionless to me. It sounds indifferent to me. It sounds cavalier to me when he's talking about the death of the children of the people that are in his audience. There are a lot of parents of students who lost their lives in the Newtown shooting that were there for this speech. And of course, President Obama wants to confiscate guns. He told John Lott when they were on the faculty at Columbia back in 1996 or sometime that he didn't think people ought to be able to own guns. So we know where Barack Obama's coming at. And here's what he had to say to the parents that had lost their children in the Newtown tragedy on Monday.
This is not about politics. This is about these families and families all across the country who are saying, let's make it a little harder for our kids to get gunned down.
Let's make it a little harder for our kids to get gunned down. Now, you parse that, and, and I understand maybe he's even kind of speaking off the cuff, and maybe this is why he gets into such problems when he doesn't use a teleprompter. But let's make it a little harder to keep our kids from getting gunned down. So they're going to get gunned down, and let's just try to make it just a little more difficult. We're not going to be able to slow it down. We're not going to be able to stop it. Let's just try to just raise the ramp just a little. So it's just a little bit tougher for our kids to get gunned down. Now let's jump over to clip 11, Rob. This is a father of one of the children that died in the Newtown shooting, and he's taken a completely different view. President Obama saying gun control is the answer. Connecticut passed this big-time, Connecticut passed this big-time gun control. It'll be the stiffest one in the country. They had the fourth stiffest gun laws in the country, according to the Brady outfit, than in the nation. It didn't stop the Newtown shooting. Their new law doesn't put any guns on any school campuses, none. It does nothing to solve this problem. And here's the Newtown father saying, look, gun control is not the answer to stopping school shootings.
Gun control works for people who abide by the laws. Criminals who conduct most of the gun crime don't care about the law. They won't look up the Connecticut law to see how many guns, how many bullets have to be in the magazine that they're supposed to register with the state police at some point in the future once they come up with a blueprint for how to administer that. Again, false premise in that they're not talking about confiscating those magazines. The magazines are out there. If we were starting at point A and there were no guns and no magazines, fine. Perhaps we could talk about that, but there are millions, tens of millions of these out there, and criminals aren't going to hand them back. So why should I be hampered in protecting myself when someone could come to my home and outgun me? Should I feel safer because New York criminals will only be loading 7 bullets in their 15-round magazine? I don't think so.
So that's a Newtown father, you know, and President Obama is just playing them for political props. I mean, it's shameless what he's doing. He's flying them down to D.C. on Air Force One to kind of create this sympathy for gun control legislation. And what gun control legislation does is it makes the children of these parents actually more vulnerable, and their children more vulnerable. Doesn't make them more safe. It doesn't make them more secure. It makes them less safe. So he's using these parents and their grief for shameless political purposes. You know, he said at the beginning of that bite, this is not about politics. It's all about politics. If it's not about politics, why are you loading these parents up on Air Force One and flying them to Washington, D.C. so they can flood the Capitol and put pressure on lawmakers to pass gun control? It's all about politics. And, you know, as this father says, there's one father wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid, wasn't buying the swill. Father of a Newtown victim says, look, gun control is not the answer. It's not how you're going to stop this kind of stuff from going on. Now, it is interesting that President Obama is making America safer by the day. I got a piece here from CNS News this morning. Since Barack Obama became the president, there have been 32 background checks for gun purchases every single minute. Since February of 2009, there have been 70,291,049 background checks for gun purchases. So people, they understand what President Obama is about, that he does want to confiscate guns. He does want to register guns. He does want to put himself in the position to confiscate guns, and so they're buying them while they can. And then you've got these gun manufacturers that are leaving anti-Second Amendment states. A Colt is moving its AR-15 plant to Texas from Connecticut because Texas is friendly to the Second Amendment. Connecticut is not. Focal point AFR Talk.
Here's Twyla Brace, president of CC.